We got a brand new episode of the Odds and End Zones podcast here on the Bleeding Green Nation Radio Podcast Network. I'm Shamus Clancy, joined by my co-host, as always, Zo. My guy, what's up?
What's up, brother? Happy Tuesday, man.
Yeah, we're recording this June 14th, early Tuesday afternoon. Kind of a lull in Eagles land. I did BLG and myself. We're down at Eagles training camp. Did some I shouldn't say training camp, OTAs, did some OT observation podcast.
How was that?
It was good. It was an unbelievable experience. It was nice. I would say to both the team and the PR staff, as well as the other beat writers, treated me really well. And Jimmy Kemsky, I'm obviously deputy sports editor for Philly Voice.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kemsky, who's our Eagles beat writer, as well as the co-host of BGN Radio with BLG. Was on vacation, so I filled in for him valiantly, I'd say, though Jimmy is one of the GOATs on the beat, so hard to get in there with that. But the other beat writers, BLG, everyone else, and the team itself were very accommodating on me, so I'm happy for the process.
Did you see, like a quick 5 minutes, but did you see Jordan Davis at all?
Yeah, so we had two practices that were open to the media, two OTA sessions. Yeah. One was 2 Thursdays ago, so I guess that was maybe the last day of May, if I'm thinking that correctly. And then the other one was this past Wednesday. We were there. On the first session, Jordan Davis spoke with us, gassed up Fletcher Cox relative to, saying this is the guy I kind of modeled my game after coming up, which we asked Fletcher about that because he spoke this past week. Yeah. And we're like, Jordan, what's your relationship with there? And we had talked about before, whether it's on here or BLG and I, saying we really hope that Fletcher takes on kind of a leadership role within this defensive tackle group. We're not saying he has in the past or, making a decision about his demeanor, but I think it would be really nice given that he is the elder statesman. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear it, but it's after his prime. Not saying he's not a quality NFL player, but he's not 2018 All-Pro Fletcher Cox. That's just a fact. Hargrave had a really strong start to last season. I think teetered off a little bit, but I guess you could say it was a Pro Bowl caliber campaign for him in 2021. I love what we saw from Milton Williams at the end of the year, and then Jordan Davis is obviously a dog.
I think I'll be interested to see what his preseason looks like. I feel like those guys do get a lot of reps in the preseason.
He'll get a lot just because he's he's third on the depth chart.
Probably, he's probably gonna come out third on the depth chart, and obviously he's probably number one in running downs.
I could see it's really interesting what they're going to do because they do have more outside depth now, which they have a true Sam off-ball linebacker pass rusher with Hassan now. Yeah. Because there's other situations where you're thinking maybe they split Hargrave to the outside and have him as an extra rusher because he did that in Pittsburgh, rushing from off tackle sometimes. But at that point, it's like, well, what are we doing? Because Brandon Graham actually is better as an interior rusher than an outside rusher, which we saw a lot during the last few years. Obviously not this past season with his injury. So I'm really Eagles fans should be really banking on Jonathan Gannon getting creative because there's a lot of talent on this defensive line, both on the outside and the interior specifically, especially. He's going to need to get creative and using them and keeping those guys fresh and taking some of those 2017 Jim Schwartz vibes. Obviously, their defenses are radically different, but in terms of spelling guys, keeping guys fresh well into the fourth quarter of a given game, but also the fourth quarter of a season.
And he's got guys now, right? I think that a lot of times last year you were hoping that he had an extra guy, like they had a guy, you wanted them to have a guy to do this or a guy to do that. They were obviously thin on the front. BG wasn't there, and I think that he's got guys now, and really it's going to be all on him to, like you said, to really start to use that creativity. And I don't saying there's no excuses is so passe, but there really is. There's going to be minimal excuse for not being creative. You just gave Hassan Reddick that huge contract, and you're getting you got younger. You got guys who are hungrier. You gotta really work to maximize everybody's talents and efforts up there.
Not even trying to get hot takey, but I think there's two outcomes for Jonathan Gannon this season. Both result in him not being the Eagles defensive coordinator in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Either he's going to be a head coach somewhere else next year, Ori's Cannon is like the Vikings, or I mean, it's a different regime now, I guess, in the Mike Zimmer era.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
then he's some teams, defensive backs or safeties or cornerbacks coach or whatever.
I buy both.
I really do lean more towards the former too.
Yeah, I buy both of that. I think that I could. I mean, look at the way that assistants get hired in this league. Like, I could totally see somebody coming and scooping him up, after a hot season, and and him moving along to some, taking the reins of a 4-13 team with promise, because they bank on it. But yeah, I would agree with that too. I think
he coaching the commies come 2023?
Yeah, would that be funny? There's enough Eagles connection there. I would not be surprised if they wanted.
And they have talent on defense. I think he could do well.
Yeah, he would do well there. They have a ton of talent, and they have they're similarly to the Eagles. A lot of their talent is on their front line. I can totally see him jumping at that, especially if they have a poor start or a bad start. I can totally see him, being at least one of the names in line for that gig.
Yeah, if he just doesn't open his mouth all year, he'll be an upgrade on Jack Del Rio, right?
Literally just shut up. Don't mention any dust ups, and you'll be fine.
So do you want to get to the true topic of the day? Obviously, like I said, a little bit of a dead period for the Birds, and a big discussion in Philadelphia right now is the movie that was released last week, film on Netflix, was in theaters in the Philadelphia area.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the Philadelphia Film Center, which has locations on by the Bourse on 4th Street and Old City, and then at Broad and Walnut. They both have like the high-level indie flicks and the blockbusters too. I love going there and supporting an independent theater. But on Netflix, you can watch it, is Hustle, starring Adam Sandler, set in Philadelphia, a basketball tale where Adam Sandler is a scout for the Philadelphia 76ers. Immediate thoughts on the film, Zo? I guess I would say I was cautiously optimistic for the movie.
Yeah. I would say the same. I didn't. I was hoping it wasn't along the same lines, of Uncut Gems, like another very loosely tied
MCU Sixers.
Yeah, exactly. But I was my immediate reaction was I was thoroughly impressed. I thought it was definitely one of the better sports movies I've seen in recent years. I loved it, and I guess I kind of sort of expected it, because Adam Sandler many times has stated how he is, like, basketball is his number one sport, and he's a huge fan of the game. And
we will get into some spoilers. I want to throw up a spoiler tag right now before we get too much into it. If you haven't seen the movie, it probably won't even make that much sense. So if you're going to listen, watch the movie first.
And still, and we're not going to tell you the whole movie, but we are going to share some spoilers. But him being a tortured Knicks fan, and almost the same way that we're tortured Sixers fans, I appreciated how much he did, how much you can tell detail he did put into the movie.
I would have liked a nice consultancy contract on the film about the accuracy of the geographical location. Maybe both of us on there. Have us on retainer would have been nice, but
would have been cool. I mean, you were close. He spent all summer in the city. Like, come on, dude. Like, that's my only knock. That's my only knock. But shout out to him. Whatever.
It was a bit formulaic, which is some of the criticism I heard. Little Disney Channel original movie, but my qualm there is that it's self-aware and it knows it's a sports movie. Every sports movie kind of has a formula, right? If you think to some of the classics like Rudy, or even getting in the Philly realm, and you have the Rocky films and stuff like that, it's just inevitable that's what it's going to be. And it's less about some huge plot twist or the ending itself, as much as it is about the inspirational journey itself. And Juancho, Hernan Gomez, some legit acting chops.
Legit acting chops. He's legit hooper. Listen, the funny thing about that also is, his game translates probably a lot better in the movie than it does in the league almost. But,
they had him like guarding 1 through 5. He's guarding Ant Edwards in pickup as like a 4, I guess you would say. And I'm like this version of this guy is like if Kristaps Porzingis didn't have the off the field issues, but also like had an unbelievable handle, and then was tatted the hell up like a badass.
Another thing that I loved was the use of the word unicorn, because in the NBA, in today's NBA, that's what everyone's looking for. Like the next
Yeah.
unicorn, the next, the next Embiid, the next Giannis, the next. They used to call Ant Davis, a unicorn, but like, I guess he still fits in that category. But like, I do think that was obviously, you can tell that he did a little bit of research with that, because that's what they're describing those guys as, like those hybrid 6'11", 7-footers who can bring the ball up, who can, square up from three, and they move way better than you expect a 7-footer to do. And I think that is, for me, that was like one of the first signs, like, oh, like he did his research before this
Yeah.
movie. So I thought that was impressive as well. And I liked, in general, I thought that just in terms of just in a pure basketball sense, I think that seeing what the life of a scout almost looks like was, it was pretty, like, it almost like puts you right next to him. I think
Yeah.
the idea of like going, to Europe, and going from, small European town, and stuffing your face
That's a
with,
grind. Like
ugh,
whoever
looked
was
terrible.
the smart person that found Giannis
Yeah,
in Greece. Obviously, I think some of the younger basketball fans, and we're not even that old, but 2013 in NBA scouting and the
yeah,
draft and draft Twitter and all that it seems weird, but it's just so radically different
yeah,
from what it is now, even
yeah,
though it's not even a full decade.
yep,
No one knew anything about him. People make jokes about like the late 90s or early 2000s. This was on that level of a
yeah,
foreign prospect, international prospect,
for sure.
where no one knew anything about this guy. And he was playing against, like, people talk about Bob Cousy playing against plumbers. This guy's playing against plumbers
Yeah,
and
and
was
construction
18 and
workers.
almost had,
Yeah,
probably 3, 4, 5 inches shorter than he is now, too.
yeah, and I think that it also goes to show you that it is like, you can't just pluck these guys out of anywhere. A day after they tell you to hop on a plane and go get our next center. Like,
Yeah.
it's more than just a science. I think it's also a lot of luck. Like, he got lucky. He was lucky to miss that game, and obviously they wanted you to see that part too. But like, he was lucky to have the one guy he came to see, get hurt, and then walk down the street just trying to shoot some hoops, and he sees, into his eye, the best prospect he's seen in years, just playing pickup for money. So I think that it was just it was a nice head nod to the fact that, in basketball and in sports in general, that a lot of your preparation is also just met with luck too.
I have 3 questions here that I've written down for the film. Do you think Ant Edwards improved all of his own dialogue?
Oh yeah, I don't even think I think they tried to give him a script, and he's probably like, no thanks, I'll just talk, because he was too natural. He was so good.
Do you think he should have played himself
I
rather
think
than
he
a
should have played
fictional
himself. I
character?
wouldn't
Because,
even.
like, just for reference, there are players in the movie
Yeah,
that have played fictional characters.
yeah,
Where there's also Tobias Harris and Tyrese
right.
Maxey,
Yep,
Seth Curry playing themselves.
yep. And they shouted out Drew Holiday too. Drew wasn't there, but
Yeah,
they shouted him
yeah, it
out.
was nice.
I think he should have just played himself. I think because he was, I mean, he was number one pick. So I think you could have just been like, oh, and Edwards, like, he's number one pick. What's he doing here? Like that.
Yeah,
I think that would have been great. But yeah, I don't think he had a script at all. He sounded way too natural for that.
yeah. Uh, I think he has some. He could do a He Got Game remake. How about
Absolutely.
that?
I would
I think
watch
he
that. And
could.
I was against I'm usually weird about remakes, but I would
Yeah.
watch a He Got Game remake with him in it. I think he'd be
You'd have to
good.
have a very, very specific
Yeah,
main character, I
yeah.
would think. And I don't know who would be his Denzel, but that's a different
That
discussion,
would
I
be that
guess.
would be I would definitely watch that. That would be good.
The ownership structure for the Sixers in this fictional universe, does it bring you some vibes of, seem like a mix of the Colangelo hierarchy as well as what we've seen in the winning time like Lakers?
Yeah,
It seemed like that was sort of the mix for me.
yeah. The
Father son thing. The son's
um
kind of a d bag.
the son's a jerk, and like everybody loved the dad, and like when they find out that like the daughter's not the one who's taking it over, everybody's like, you know, So I definitely get a bit of a weird like Colangelo vibe and a weird and it's almost in a reverse way. I don't know if you probably haven't watched this in a while, but in any given Sunday, um, remember like the Cameron Diaz is like she's like the young owner who's like she's basically
Yeah,
trying to take the team from her
yeah.
mom, but
I haven't
everybody
seen it in a
loves her
minute, but
mom
yeah.
type thing. Yeah, like almost like that type of structure that like you got some work to do before you wind up being as loved as your dad was. Or like before people respect you like they respected your dad type stuff.
I just wish the daughter character was a little more fleshed out. It
Yeah,
felt like she was a little one
yeah,
dimensional, and that's not a comment on the actor slash actress herself.
yeah.
More so, I don't think the script did her justice because then again, spoiler alert, she comes in at the end and is the one running a team, even though we didn't see her for the majority of
Didn't
the
see her.
thing.
Yeah,
So like, I would have either liked to see her not in the plot line or
yeah,
have her more of a developed character because I don't think it necessarily did her justice. Because I guess the vibe that she was supposed to get, I guess you have the Cameron Diaz any given Sunday comp, but my immediate thought was Jeannie Buss, right?
yeah.
Was that do you think
Yep.
that? And as we've seen in season 1 of Winning Time, I guess based on the book Showtime by Jeff Pearlman on the '80s Lakers dynasty, whatever you want to call it, that ran on HBO this year. Jeannie Buss is still very young on that show,
Yeah,
but other than her father and I guess Magic, is I guess the third most important character, the character
yeah,
whose storyline gets brought up the most, and I think they're doing a really good job on that of
yeah,
developing her. In an ideal world, you get future seasons where she rises up even more with inside the organization. So I think that was what the vibe they were going for with her, and that was probably my main complaint is I don't think they developed that character well enough, and I think there's some weird issues there when it's a female character that kind of gets shoehorned in, and whether it's the writers or the director or whatever doesn't
yeah.
necessarily give them the service that is deserved.
And she got um I think a couple of her lines were like throwaway lines, and which was also kind of disappointing. I think
You feel
that
like a stock character.
yeah, like it just felt like she was like the one, hey, I'm high and by, and then you don't hear anything from her until toward the end of the movie when it's a pretty prominent like thing. So like, oh, I would like to see, in this 2 hours, I would like to see some more development. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Third question I have, and then we can talk about other stuff too. Why do you think Joel Embiid was in this movie? Someone who's mentioned multiple times, someone who other Sixers players are seeing. You have Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris all on screen as themselves. Seth Curry was in there. I think he was a little bit more minimized
Yeah,
in
yeah,
retrospect, given that he's no longer on the team. But it seemed like maybe initially there was more screen time there for Seth. So
yep,
you have all those guys playing themselves, or maybe a fictionalized version of themselves, whatever you want to say. But Joel Embiid is mentioned multiple times, but is not featured in the movie. If you're watching the credits, you see that one of the executive producers of the film is one LeBron James,
LeBron James.
who we know is a part of the Clutch Sports Group
Yes.
that also has Ben Simmons
Bring it.
as
I
a
was gonna say,
client.
bring it home. Bring it home. Yes.
So do you think Joel Embiid not being in this movie was a LeBron slash Clutch move to spite him for the Ben Simmons saga?
You know what? You can never be too sure with them.
I mean, that just feels very, and then I'm not
Yeah.
even like hating on it or saying it's
No.
weird or anything like that. Like, I totally get it. And if I was in their position, I'd probably do the same
Do the
thing.
same
We're all a little
thing.
petty,
Yeah.
right? But that was the vibe. That was my initial thought.
I totally would not put anything behind them. And again, like you said, I don't even think I would begrudge them
Matisse is
for
a
it.
Clutch guy, right? I mean, not Matisse. Tyrese is a Clutch
Tyrese,
guy. So
Tyrese
that
is a
makes
Clutch
sense that
guy.
he was featured.
Yeah. I just think part of it, well, one, we know it's not a contract thing because they were able to mention his name. So like I'm sure
Yeah.
if it was one of those things, he would have been like, don't say my name at all. And
Wait,
two,
I have a screenshot of the guy saying like, "What the f do you want to trade Embiid for?"
yeah.
I meant to tweet. I paused the movie with me and Ash were watching it. I meant to tweet it out. I was going to say like HP basketball Matt Moore in December 2020. But go on. I
Oh,
didn't
Matt
mean to
Moore.
cut you off.
No, that's funny. There's a yeah, we'll have to get into deeper into that later. But yeah, I think it was just them some petty clutch. You know,
Yeah.
they gotta stand by their man. You know,
Yeah,
and
they did their job.
obviously, especially when during that time, one of the first things you said was he threw me under the bus, and we can, that's not my man anymore. Threw me under the bus, and I didn't appreciate it. Like you can't be like, "Yo, come be in our movie." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
just
Hey man, I hate your effing guts. Do you want to come star in this movie with my
yeah,
boy?
like yo, like we know things ended on the wrong foot, but really need you in this Adam Sandler movie. Like, nah, I think that they were just doing their guy solid as they should. I mean, that's their boy. So
New theory. If you recall in Uncut Gems, in retrospect, the movie was based on a 2012 playoff series
yeah,
between the Celtics and the Sixers, and Kevin Garnett has, I guess, a supporting actor role, you would say, in the film.
yep.
Originally, that was supposed to be Joel
Was
Embiid, I
B,
guess,
yeah,
based on a different playoff series, maybe the 2018 one. That
probably, yeah.
movie also starred Adam Sandler. Anything weird there? Maybe not that we know, but my theory is not that there was any bad blood, but maybe something with a work relationship or an issue with an agent that could have stemmed from Uncut Gems led Embiid not to want to not be in this film.
Yo, you could be right. I mean, Hollywood is a different. It's a different
We
beast.
love the Palace intrigue from all the Sixers BS
Yeah,
over the years, so
like
that's where my mind goes.
it could very well be one of those things, an agent thing where like yo, like you kind of screwed us on Uncut Gems, so we're cool. Like good luck, but like you can use the name, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like don't don't expect the visual. I could totally see that. I think that he's also someone who is very he tries to keep his private life private, and he's
Yes.
also someone who's very for as he's grown considerably off the court, and he's someone who is
He's not
very
a
aware.
goofball anymore, and that's okay. He's
Right,
a dad.
and that's totally cool, right?
I don't know if they're married. He's has a
Yeah,
fiance or
it's
whatever.
fiance, yeah. So I think that he probably also is like he's probably more control of his likeness now. I'm sure everything kind of matters to him
Yeah.
in terms of that, at least.
Quality of ball in the movie. Not that I'm a very good basketball player, pickup player, didn't play high school or anything like that. Very high, and I guess the thing for me was I guess there were more prominent players, professional players, whether
Yeah,
they were NBA players or they kind of had the street ball legends and one
yeah,
mixtape type guys in there too.
yeah.
So I was really
Ayo, the
pleasantly
professor,
surprised.
yeah,
This isn't the Office basketball episode. It's nothing like that. Teen Wolf, whatever you want to say. High quality ball that I think people could appreciate, whether they're scrubs like me or people who played at actually a high
yeah.
level.
Well, I think they wanted to,
It felt really authentic. It didn't feel like we made like Jeff McDevitt made the Disney Channel original movie comment to me. They don't have these cheesy action scenes in this. This was like legit ball that I would
yeah,
watch, a scrimmage from, like if you're, you
yeah.
were a scout at the draft combine.
You were watching this, yeah. Like it wasn't like even the commentary. The commentary wasn't like, oh, like I need to. It was legit basketball commentary from Kenny Smith and those guys, and it was legit basketball. Like if you walked into a gym and you're like, this is a pre camp, we're just going to run on full court. Guys, agents are bringing their guys here. There's a European guy supposed to be here, and you just say, all right, we're going to run, two rounds of full court. And it was legit hoops. I thought it was great. I think the quality of ball was high, and I think that's all part of them selling the product. Like if it's a movie, they want you to believe, So you got to have actual, if not actual, like close to actual ball players in it. And it just so happens that they were able to get actual basketball players, like you said. Ayo, another Philly guy, a Philly connection in the movie. He was there. Professor. From the N1 tour, all those guys. So like I think that it was you can tell it was a concerted effort to make even the basketball action look as real as possible.
Does Mo Wagner need to fire his agent?
Yes.
I thought that was just a random guy. That guy played, and I didn't realize what Mo Wagner looked like in that moment.
Yeah.
So Mo Wagner, there's and early in the show, The Sixers draft a guy out of Germany. His last name's Haas.
Haas, yeah.
Adam Sandler, as the scout, does not want to draft him. The Brian Colangelo-esque figure in the Sixers organization, the son of the owner at the time, wants to draft this guy. Adam Sandler is basically like, he does not have that dog in him. That was kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah.
Then the Sixers draft him. He comes into practice and is just absolutely terrible. No fight. He is the stereotypical, like, late 90s post Dirk, that era of them trying too hard to find the next great European big man.
And
so he was that poster boy. And to know that guy's in the NBA and that his stock as a player tanked so hard, I hope he got a really fat check and then fired his agent automatically for setting him in a role where he looks like an absolute idiot who can't ball.
and he also he signed up for a role where basically they have to crap on you the whole first half hour of the movie, where he's lazy, he's a step slow, the guy, he parties too much, blah blah, and then they asked, he considerably had to be kind of garbage even in the workouts. So he's got to fire his agent, and also he's probably got to dunk on a couple people next year to get his name back.
Yeah, they didn't even show a lot of action of him playing ball against other people, overseas. They really should have just, I get why they wanted a legit NBA player because it looks better. But for anyone who wanted to sign up for that had to be a guy who's not a professional ball player, just a tallish actor they had to go with, or a guy who's, a bench player in the Turkish league or something like that. You can't have an NBA player looking bad like that. No. It's bad for the shield, so to speak, if we're using an NFL term. And I'd be freaking out if I was Mo Wagner watching that movie and being like, wait, I look like the worst basketball player in human history because of this movie. At least they didn't use his real name, right?
Right. At least they were like, yo, this is Mo Wagner.
I would have been like, actually, you can leave my name out of the credits. It's fine. I'm just going to cash this check.
Now I'm cool. Yeah, I'm cool with Hans. No, don't even mention my real name. Just leave my name out of everything.
Yeah. Anything else that stood out for you? Any of the Philly landmarks, Philly iconography? Early on in the episode, they call St. Joseph's University St. Joe, which was nails. It's big nails on the chalkboard energy. I think you would agree there.
Huge nails on the chalkboard energy. I would have liked to. So this was pointed out. I don't know who made the reference, but I cannot take credit for this. It was pointed out that they mentioned when the years that he played at Temple, and it would have been under John Chaney. And so, the point of the tweet was, oh, it would have been cool to have one or two mentions of actual John Chaney.
I agree completely.
In that span, because the premise was the years that he would have been at Temple, he would have been playing under John Chaney. So it would have been cool to mention a 4 a.m. practice or something like that. So that would have been cool. But I wouldn't call that personally a qualm. I think it was cool. The Johnson and Hardwick hoodie was a terrific touch.
People calling for it. Our guy Roy Burton calling for it big time.
Shout out to our guy Roy Burton. Yeah,
maybe the biggest Temple. He is what Gipper Grove is to LaSalle. Yes. Roy Burton is to Temple. 100%. I would say.
Right. He's He's definitely he's going to the Owl Boys Twitter account.
The Cecil B Boys.
Right. And I think the other the Fed Nuts sweatshirt was a very nice touch.
I'm a big Fed Nuts guy, but in the sense that besides Gip, there might not be a bigger Fed Nuts fan than me. And even I thought it might have been leading into overkill territory.
Yeah, well, you gotta pander.
You're getting that product placement or whatever. I'm sure South Fellini and Fed Nuts and Salmanov are giving a little cut right there. I would think, right?
Tomorrow, in this city, it's all about pandering, right? So tomorrow, I'm sure Chad Johnson will wake up and put on his own.
Chad Johnson sent he had a 15-minute phone call with Bryce Harper on how to pander. This guy's gonna end up friggin' being the Eagles wide receivers coach next year.
He's gonna, dude. He got.
So what is he doing? He's training a boxer here. Am I correct in saying that?
So I guess he's boxing in some kind of celebrity event, and he's training with Dron Ennis, who is one of the best, I would say top five, like middleweight to
Okay.
lightweight boxers in the world. And Duran is a Philly guy. Duran Ennis, for all those who are listening, you should look him up. He is one to be proud of, definitely from our city. And I'm not quite sure how they hooked up, but he's here training with Duran for, I think they said 2 months, for some kind of boxing match he's getting ready for. So we pretty much are going to get summer Ocho Cinco here in Philly, I think, at least until the beginning of August, probably.
I have a question for you because this is an Eagles podcast, though. 3rd and 5. Eagles, they're down by 4 points in the fourth quarter. Sunday Night Football against Dallas. They have a guy in the slot that needs to just pick up 6 or 7 yards. Eagles can get a first down, move down the field, and get a score. Who would you rather have at wide receiver? Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, or Chad Johnson?
I'd rather have Ocho. Sorry.
Yeah, and remember when T.O. was in that fan football league?
Yeah.
And he still looks like the most built guy on the
Jack.
planet. Really, really just was always in unbelievable shape.
Incredible shape.
I think he's top 3 receiver ever to me, besides behind Randy and Jeff.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
And I think he's like 48 now. Now I gotta check because we're down this wormhole. But he was in that fan control football league. And I'm like, he's 48. He turns 49 this year. I'm not even trying to be funny. I would really rather have him out there.
Yeah.
Besides, and this wasn't even when they had A.J. Brown yet. Besides Devontae and Quez Watkins, I really would rather have him out there. I'm not even trying to be funny. And I'm not saying he can play in a whole NFL season or a whole game, but we just needed to have a guy run one route.
That's it.
On the team. He would have been my third option at the time.
Especially, I think that you know how guys always say, "Oh, I would kill it in today's league." A lot of those guys lie.
Oh, he would.
In this league, the way you cannot play defense anymore as a defensive back, he would feast on these guys. I think that especially if you had him running like a concise 3 or 4 routes each time.
Yeah.
I think that at that age, I mean, you look at it's a different position because, and you got to consider Brady has not taken much pounding at all during his tenure. But you look at guys like that, and you're like, yeah, if you keep your body in shape, who knows where you can go in the NFL. Like the league is just changing in terms of how what you can and can't do as a defensive player, and it's turned into a more offensive league.
Sometimes I realize we're older than we are, and it's this weird getting to take. I'm at 28. That's I don't know if I'm young or old or whatever the hell I am. But if you're younger and listening to this, and you didn't really remember T.O. on the Eagles or during his 49 years tenure, if you're a little younger, see DK Metcalf. Imagine if he was actually 10 times better than he is, and he's still unbelievable.
Yeah,
I think DK, AJ Brown are the closest.
Yeah,
they're similar players. The closest we've seen to T.O. since the man himself.
Body type. Yeah, I think that another. I'm talking purely body type, not potential. I think George Pickens. He is another guy a straight dog, body type wise, and production wise. He towards ACL at Georgia late in his career, but he's someone who's going to be a lot of fun. I think body type, he matches that TO frame. I think those 3 guys they come to mind immediately. But he continues to be someone who even at 49, man, you can see him he's smoking dudes on the football field. He's showing up to practice open practices and just dusting receivers that are literally 20 years younger than he is. It's almost crazy to see that he manages to keep his body in that kind of shape at that age.
Imagine Chad Johnson at an E-Rock tailgate this year.
Just showing up with a bucket, a tray of McDonald's,
you got the 100-piece nugget. Do you have any familiarity with the Manny Young era? Not area, I should say. I don't at all. That was a big feature in the movie.
Yeah, I think
Ash said that's a pretty notable hill, I guess you could say. At first, I thought they were when that scene pulled up. They're pulling up in the car. I thought they were under the L for a second. Did you think that at all?
So
but it didn't really look like the L. But I had no idea where they were.
At first, when I first saw the hill, I was like, "That's got to be Manioc." You know what? I either thought Manioc or Norristown, because Norristown has like one or two hills like that. But when I saw it again, I was like, "All right, well, it's definitely a part of maybe Manioc or maybe Roxborough." But those steps are so. My cousin is he is a runner. He runs a lot to keep in shape.
Yeah.
So I remember those steps for sure. I remember pictures on those steps, and I was like, all right, well, this is definitely close to Maniac or something. But I'm hearing word on the street is that it's gotten considerably crowded now near those steps.
I mean, that's art museum steps light, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's definitely art museum steps.
Diet art museum steps.
Yeah, everybody's taking their pictures now and taking their time, seeing how fast they can make it up the hill and up the steps.
What is the best movie set in Philadelphia of all time? It doesn't have to be sports.
You said it doesn't have to be sports, right?
It doesn't have to be, no.
Dude,
I would say Silverlining's Playbook is the greatest Delco movie of all time. Am I correct in saying that's set in Delco? Like, I don't even try to have. It's not even just the Shamus. Oh, I'm from the city. I don't care about. Like, I really don't know what the areas are.
No, I think that's set in Delco. I would give you that. And then I would say I would put a tie between Rocky 2 and Trading Places.
Trading Places is a good one,
dude. Yeah, that would be my tie. My tie would be between those two. And the only reason I say Rocky 2 is because I feel like Rocky 2 instead of Rocky 1 is because I felt like they gave it a bit more tuning in the second one. I think the first one they kind of just like, let's see if it works, and then the second one they're like, nah, this definitely works. Let's put a little bit more into it. And then Trading Places, again, we're talking about how old we were and stuff like that. Like, the movie is way older than both of us, but if you have not seen Trading Places, I highly encourage it. It's one of the funniest movies you'll ever watch that is based in overall, and then it's also based in Philly. It's so funny. I watch it every time I get a chance, especially it's not a Christmas movie, but it's a funny movie to watch because there's a Christmas part to it. And then, you know what? I'll give you a third. You can ask for it. I think the first Creed
First Creed's awesome. It's I'd put that behind the first, like, maybe in the same tier as the first two Rockies.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, I think it'd be like those three are the best of that universe, series, whatever you want to say.
It definitely tugs at you. The first Creed is they didn't try too hard with the landmarks and all that nonsense. I think that it was definitely very, very well done and for a movie set in this city, because in this city it's easy to be like, all right, well, we're going to focus everything around the art museum steps or something like that. But like, I think that they did, those three are ones that stick in my craw as far as like the ones that are the best done here.
I would go Rocky 2. I think Rocky, the original, it has the one best picture and all that, but I rewatched them a couple of years ago, and Ashley and I started dating. She had actually never seen any of the movies, which, anytime that AMC marathon was on, I was watching all of them. I had the big box set as a kid on DVD, all that, seen a million times. Rocky 1, the scene where him and Adrian go on the date and he brings her back to the apartment.
Yep.
That's like an all-time did not age well scene. And it's that uncomfortable that I literally knocked it to like the second best Rocky. It's like that bad and fairly unnecessary for the entire plot. It didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's number that. I was historically a Rocky 1 guy because I like that he doesn't win. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the most Philadelphia thing ever, I thought, and that's what made the movie so iconic. And obviously still like has warts. Almost every movie you're going to see that you loved as a kid or earlier in your life, it really hasn't aged well. There's a lot of things, and not saying it's right.
Yeah,
I wish Rocky didn't have that in there because it's terrible. But it's still like the nostalgia factor is there for me.
Of course,
Movie I haven't seen in a long, probably close to 15 years is Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and Denzel. That's a movie I wonder how it's aged, because at the time it's supposed to be kind of progressive, but progressive in 1993 is a lot different than progressive in 2022. So that's one of the
I would
things I
agree.
wonder if some of there's like, I know it's a story about a gay man having HIV and Hanks's character, but I wonder if there's like weird homophobia that's I know that's part of the movie, but in a way that doesn't even sit well, even when you're having these conflicting sides and opinions in the movie.
Right.
Maybe that could be an off-season discussion. As Philadelphia aged horribly.
Will
with Jim Hopper.
That is a nice. We could put that down.
Or it could have aged remarkably, and I'm not like crapping on the movie. I don't want anyone saying like actually you're wrong. Like I hope it's aged well. It was a great film, and
I think it's
relatively important at the time, I'd say.
For sure, yeah.
Silverline's Playbook. I didn't really like the movie at first. Like the first time I saw, so it came out like fall 2012, and this is just like we're kind of in Philly movie discussion mode. So this feels apt. I had no idea what the movie was about. I knew it was just about like a wacky Eagles fan. I'm like, like let's step into this, and then he gets in like the opening. He's in like a mental hospital.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, like I can't even say that. I'm like this is literally me. I didn't know I was signing up for this. And like I almost couldn't necessarily like focus the first time I saw it because it hit too much, but on levels that maybe I wasn't comfortable with confronting at the time. So I like kind of didn't like it at first. And then I watched it a couple more times and I was like, it's not amazing. It's like pretty good. It does what it does. There's a lot of really good performances, even though it doesn't add up to like a true great movie. And then I read the novel in the lead up to the Super Bowl year, like in January, February. Like I was like, I had just finally finished school that December. I wasn't in job mode because I was like, F it. Like,
of course.
I still have like the deferment on the loans right now coming out of school. Eagles are on this run. I'm just going to like live it up, work out a lot. I was reading like books like crazy. I would just wake up, go to the gym, come home and read and like try to go to bed as soon as possible. So the next day would just come.
So the next day would
that type of energy. So I read Silverline's Playbook during that. And it's, cliche, the book's better than the movie. Like, okay, like I'm an English major. I'm going to think that sometimes. But the book was just hits on a different level. The whole romantic situation is tremendously different than the movie. And I think it's handled a lot better in the book. I actually had the author, Matthew Quick, on an episode of From the Bleachers in 2020, I believe. He came on here and was super candid and talked about how the relationship with his team has changed. And he's not a fan the way he used to be.
Sure.
And he said he just can't be. And at the time, it made me think, like, can I not do this anymore? Like, I'm literally the character in the story. Like, and I think that's a cliche on the crazy Eagles fan. But when you look at some of the legitimate, like, psychological issues there and that's when it really hit. And, losing and gaining weight back and forth like crazy, that element gets played up more in the book than it does in the movie. Though they do touch on a little bit. Then you have like the goofy family and romantic relationship stuff that everyone's can kind of relate to the universals there. So, but after reading the book and going back and watching the movie after that, I enjoyed it and appreciated it more because there are a lot of great performances though.
Yeah,
De Niro, Coop, J Law, everyone, Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker has a way more prominent role, his character, in the book itself too.
Okay,
which I really like.
I think that. It's weird when it kind of punches you in the mouth.
Especially because I had zero idea that this was what it was. So it was like it's like if you went and saw Joker 2 and you didn't know it was a musical.
You know it was a musical, right? Right. You're like, oh, I guess I am going to turn into the Joker, right? I totally get that, and in some form or fashion you can appreciate it, and I understand also if for folks who are like, this is too real for me, because that sometimes that happens too.
It could happen with a lot of people with different works of fiction, no matter what.
It doesn't have to be a movie about this. It could be any movie really, where any drama, any rom-com where like this character is way too real for me right now. I think that's the beauty of like that's kind of like the art, So I think that you do walk away sometimes saying, man, like, that was heavy. Like I got through that, but like, maybe this person actually is me.
Yeah. And I would say the book had little less comedy than the film did too.
Okay.
Because sometimes I felt like the comedy was a tad too much
Yeah.
in the subject matter. But part of that is my relation to the movie. If you are outside of Philadelphia and watching this, you might think it's hysterical, and maybe it is, an objective matter compared to someone else.
Right. Exactly.
Remember a couple of years ago, my dad never saw him, definitely not a reader and read the book, but didn't see the movie initially. Might have been one of those things like, this is too much. I didn't want to see it. And then, a handful of years back, he said a guy at work's like, Clance, you got to watch this movie. It's like, definitely like just like you, just up your alley with your son and everything like that. And I don't think he had like any idea with any of the other like mental health stuff too. So he said he watched like 20 minutes and then like had to turn it off. And he was like, why would you tell me to watch me this movie? It's horrible. This is like way too like I guess like the De Niro character, and then obviously the main character with some of the mental health stuff, and then the obvious Eagles connection there. I thought it was good. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to our guy. Shout out to Clance.
Wait, so we were talking with Killicow. If there was like a celebrity owner for the Eagles, I said, why not B. Coop? And he said, well, he plays a diseased Eagles fan in that movie, so he has that in his head as a thing. I'm like, like I started thinking like, if I owned the Eagles, I would fire the defensive coordinator every 3 games at halftime. Just walk down there, you're out of there, like linebacker coach, you're up.
Like we just talked about this.
We have the third level offensive quality control coach calling plays by the end of like week 6.
We talked about this in our pre-pod, but there's a reason I'm not the Sixers GM, right? Because I'd have a new coach every year, right? I'd have a new coach literally.
I would be full Steinbrenner, like firing a guy, and then 20 minutes later hiring him back at the same press conference. Like have a press conference to hire a guy and then fire him before it's over.
And then fire him before it's over, bring him back. So I get it. Obviously I kid and joke a lot, but I totally get that. You can't be so disease-brained as a fan of that team, because you're going to make all the wrong decisions. Like all your decisions are going to be based off how you're feeling at the moment. So like the minute after, somebody drops a ball in the NFC Championship game, I'm like, oh, you cut, dude. You're not. You're
have fun in the unemployment line tomorrow, pal.
I don't worry about it, dude. Like we'll see. You'll be on unemployment tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Like I just feel like there's absolutely a line that people who work in sports have to draw for themselves, because if not, you will make every single decision based off emotion, and you will be in a terrible spot every single time.
That's what I think Jeffrey Lurie has overseen the best 2 decades in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
And I would say, other than Ed Snyder and the formation of the Flyers and what that did for city sports scene in the 70s, is the greatest owner we've seen. And I guess if you throw Connie Mack in there, he was like an owner and manager or whatever with the A's. Whatever you want to say with that, I can't speak to it too much. But people are saying like he's involved too much. They don't want his son in there. And like I'd rather have Lurie's son, and I did a whole pod on this, rather than some random like Jeff Bezos buys the team or something like that. I'd much rather have a guy who's been a formative thing. But at the same time, people are like, I hate when owners are too hands-on. I was like, are you absolutely kidding? That's because like neither of us we're both poor and don't have any money whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were in control of the Eagles, there wouldn't even be a GM. You would be the GM and the owner and the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, and you're deciding who's doing punt returns.
Exactly. Like we're coming to it. We're coming at it from a poor person's perspective. Like we don't have.
I couldn't fathom having like enough money to buy a luxury suite to do.
Like imagine being Phil Knight and you wake up one day like, you know what, dude, I want to own a professional football team, or I want to own a professional basketball team. Like we don't
got off on the right side of the bed that time.
Right. Let me call Paul Allen and see if he wants to throw in 2 bills so we can both buy the Broncos this morning. Like it's a different mindset that we'll never have.
I would love just the idea of like a fan being like the owner. It's outrageous. And it's weird because Lurie was a big Patriots fan growing up. He's from New England. And not too long before he bought the Eagles, the Patriots up for sale, and then Robert Kraft bought them. The Patriots were a really barren wasteland. If younger fans or even fans around our age probably don't even realize how destitute things were. They were moving. They had bad stadiums. They were moving from the suburban rural area of Massachusetts and Boston back and forth, all this kind of crazy stuff there. Then he buys the Birds instead. And I think it almost worked out better that he's not running his hometown team, because he's very emotionally invested almost 3 decades in. I joke that he literally bought the Eagles on the day I was born. And he's almost 3 decades later, certainly has that. He's a fan of the Eagles. I think we could all say that. That's obvious. But there isn't that, I think he's 70. He hasn't been a fan of the Eagles for 7 years the way he was as a Patriots fan. I think that might have helped him be a better businessman rather than a fan in charge.
Yeah. Like I almost feel like it's become a hindrance that Josh Harris said at his introductory press conference that he was a huge Sixers fan. And like I feel like for all the things that he does or has done wrong, that entire team in ownership, I think the one thing is you can tell they make a lot of decisions based off emotion. Like you can tell he's a guy who hates hearing how much he sucks. Like he hates hearing how much we all despise him, because he wants people to think that he's a fan just like us. It's like, dude, like we don't care. Like just be an owner. Like we don't care.
Like would we have done anything like that? Like I wanted to trade up for Markelle and take him, and they did that. Like I would have done that.
Right.
I would have. I would have made the trades for Tobias and Jimmy and given up whatever we needed the way Alton Brand did.
Exactly.
I would have, coped, and if Jimmy didn't want to sign, pivoted to Horford, thinking Embiid can't play a lot, let him play the 4 and the 5, whatever. We talked ourselves into that.
Right.
I would have made the move for Morey and thrown him a blank check. I would have hired Doc, thinking, he has, get this core over the hump, and then Harden, I don't care what it takes, throw 1 million picks at them.
Right. Like
we hate Josh Harris. Maybe we dislike the guy who just got edged out a little bit more. And I think that we don't have to touch too much upon that. But I'm not sure we're doing too much different than him if we're in charge.
I don't think we're doing too much different than him at all. I think we are doing the exact same thing, or at least like close to it, and which is the crazy thing. Like
at least we would look like less of a goober on the sideline.
Yeah, like
he should. Like I like, as much as there's certainly a lot of issues with Mark Cuban, especially some of the stuff that went on that organization for decades. But
certainly,
guy just wears like a Mavericks t-shirt and just in jeans and sits on the sideline. I thought that was like that's how I'd be if I was known.
Like I would,
but he's very involved in fighting with refs. Like I feel like I wouldn't run the personal business dynamics the way he did with all the terrible stuff that went on there. But on a more superficial level, that's probably
on the superficial like fandom side. I'll probably just show up in jeans and a Sixers tee and just
I'm walking in Mitchell and Ness every 3 weeks with like a trash bag, and I'm like, hey fellas, just gonna throw whatever I can fit in, like one of those Target runs in like a game show, like whatever you can fit in this cart, whatever you can fit in this bag, it's yours.
Yeah, whatever fits in 5 minutes is all yours. Take it.
Yeah, how much clothes can you put on in the next 45 seconds? And then you can walk out the door in it. I want to wrap up.
Yeah, cool, man. I'm good. I don't have anything else on my list.
Yeah, that was good. We talked about basketball and life in Philly. That's exactly what the Odds and Ends is about. And we talked about Uncut Gems. So that's the one gambling component we could bring.
Right, we mentioned Uncut Gems. Right. We're all set.
Follow Zo on Twitter @tweets_by_Zo. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @Shamus_Clancy. Be sure to check out my work on phillyvoice.com, as well as everything we got going on with BGN Radio. You can subscribe to Zo's newsletter for the Rights to Ricky Sanchez Sixers podcast. Do you have a specific sign-up link or anything you can plug real quick? I want to make sure we're giving you your props too.
Yep. Rights to RickySanchez.com/newsletter. Sign up. And we go out weekly.
Is that every Wednesday?
Every Thursday or Friday, but mostly every Thursday. We do everything. We talk more about self-loathing and
similar vibes to this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a Philly sports fan, you haven't signed up for that, it doesn't make any sense.
Literally same vibes as this podcast. So we appreciate all the love as usual.
All right. We'll talk soon. I don't know if it's next week. Maybe try to do some fun stuff this summer, given that it's like a weird situation without.
We'll plan something out before. Well, we got we have 6 weeks probably.
Any given Sunday review could be on the table.
Yeah, I'm down for everything. A little Varsity Blues, movie, trivia.
Let's do a football movie blowout. I think I like that.
With it.
All right, we'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, 5-star, all that stuff you've heard a million times. Do it.